Evan, I don't want to bring down the show necessarily, but today I woke up to some pretty shocking news, and I think you did too, that basically a Tulsa comedy legend passed away this morning, or maybe late last night.
Yeah, Lavell, Velly Vel Harris. I was trying to figure out a way to transition to this. I mean, I think this should be like most of the show, even though we're going to have viewers and listeners that don't know who he is, which is fine. I think it could still be interesting for them to think this is one of the best comedians ever from Oklahoma.
Oh,
Passed
yeah.
away today. I have never seen the outpouring of love for one person that's passed away that I've seen from what I've seen today. I mean, every minute there's another gigantic tribute to him that someone has put out. I mean, he did so many shows, so many things, all over the place. I mean, not just in Tulsa, but like, you know, in Enid and Inola and Muskogee, and he was setting up shows everywhere. And some of these towns are so small, you could go in these towns and find someone, and they would know who Velly Vel is, you know, because he would find a town and go do a show there, and it'd be the only entertainment they would have on a Friday night, you know, would be that comedy show, you know. And he just, I was talking to Rick Shaw. Rick Shaw and I, he's another Tulsa comic, we've talked on the phone 3 times today about Velly Vel, where we'd have to end the call because someone else would be calling him about Velly, and he would end my call, and then we'd get back to each other later.
Yeah.
And, you know, Rick started in Tulsa comedy in 2012 and worked with Velly back then. And so he has so many stories too. And we kind of boiled it down to like, he was so good at connecting people who would have otherwise never met. Like, think of all the people that he would not have any idea of if not for Velly Vel had been there, you know, and just being glue for so many people. I mean, you know, so many people, it's like, it's a kind of a gift to be able to do that. You know, it's so hard to be that person, you know, and he did so many things. Like, I can't possibly list all the things he was involved in. He was like working on videos all the time. He's working on a movie. He had a big radio show that he's got to be up for. You know, and I was thinking that he was like, his radio shows at like 7 a.m. and he's doing these shows at 10. And I'm like, you know, and he was bringing big comics to town, you know, so he's booking, he's promoting, doing comedy shows, doing Save Our Youth shows. So he had all these people in this camp, and he had all these people in this camp, and he was just such an important person to so many people. I went on his radio show, I think a couple months ago with Sandra Slade.
Oh, yeah.
And I was talking to my partner about it. She's like, "Oh my God, you're waking up at, you know, 7 to be able to go to this thing." And I was like, "It's Velly Vel." I was like, "Dude, I you know, I've got to do this." And it was so cool because it was so professional seeing him in this like real studio. And I feel like it was one of the first times I ever saw like over the years. I mean, I know that you'll relate to this. Like, you see the flyer and it's like Velly Vel presents, and he's the host, and he's doing all these things, and like, you know, that he's like basically like the father of all these, like, you know, he has so many people under him and that rely on him, you know, and that are doing stuff because of him. But seeing it in person, where it was like he's got all these like guests, and he's got his like regular cast on the show. He's kind of like how similar to what you do with talk shows. Like, you're the main dude, and you got all these people that are like eating and that are working because of you, and that, you know, they're going through you, they're working through you. And that's kind of how it was with Velly. Like, he was the guy there, and everybody else was just like there because of Velly. Like, no one else could have started that show but him. Like, no one else is making it happen but him. He made all those things happen. You know, it'd be nice to think that someone else is going to start doing those shows he was doing, and Inola and Muskogee and all these places, but they're not, dude. I mean, so much was him. And that was a conversation Rick and I had, was just like, we need to we need to step up our game and try to do more, you know, and not feel like a failure if we don't reach, you know, this goal we set for ourselves, or this one. It's like, you know, if we, you know, try to do a million things, you know, so let's say we do half of a million things, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, definitely.
But what he was doing was so impressive. And I have some cool, like, little stories and anecdotes that I'd like to get in. I actually made some notes about some funny Velly Vel stuff that I wanted to talk about, if that's cool. But I realized I've been, like, just going for, like, minutes, so I'll throw it back to you.
No, you're all good.
It's good? Okay.
What I was going to say is I want to touch on what you had said, which is, the entire day, every time I opened Facebook, it was another 20 posts about Velly and his life and how just great he was. He made a lot of people. What I was trying to talk to someone about earlier was that he was extremely inspiring. Him and I were never actually very close, but over the last 6 months, we became, I mean, good friends. I would say we talked very regularly, but I remember I got the greatest compliment from him ever, because I was featuring for him at that club in Miami, the Looney Saloon. Yeah. And I was featuring for him, and he was just murdering. I think it was 4 shows that weekend, and he murdered all 4 of them. I was blown away every time. And the fact that not only was he an incredible comic, but he also was driving back and forth those days, because he was also doing work with Save Our Youth Foundation, and also was talking about it, during his set as well, which I was like, how I was blown away by his ability to talk about something so serious, and then when he's done, go right back to just slaughtering the room with the funniest thing I've ever heard. But anyway, yeah, at the end of the weekend, I remember that's like the first time we actually ever met, and he was like, wow, you are hard to follow. And I was like, well, that's all I needed. I'm good now. I was like, I'm good now. But yeah, anyway, over the last 6 months or so, and actually kind of breaking the fourth wall, he was supposed to actually do this show next week. So that was kind of anyway, we had a lot of plans for what we wanted to do, and we're just talking the other day about it, and it's very surreal. It's not often that we lose someone so close in this community. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah, I got to see him a ton of times. I had to work with him a bunch of times. I was just saying, not with you, but I used to love when he would follow, like, kind of an awkward set, like my style of set through a lot of my years, kind of that, like, the first thing he would get the mic, and I'd be kind of like quiet, or it wasn't always me, but it could be someone else that does the similar kind of a more quiet, reserved style. He would just get the mic, what the fuck, and the room would just explode.
Right. Yeah. I love that.
Like,
yeah.
You guys here, you all better wake the fuck up. The dead crowd. I think I credit him, I think, with my in my first year of comedy, maybe not the whole year, I kind of went under that, like, oh yeah, there's just like some bad crowds, or like that was a bad crowd, and it was like, yeah, I thought that up until like everyone ate shit until Velly got up there, and then suddenly it was a great crowd. Like, it's not a bad crowd. You just got to be a really good comic.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I was actually thinking about this. He was on the show I did the night that the whole like mayor of Holdenville thing started. Because I don't know if you fully know that story, but I was just in the middle of a set, just crowd work, and ended up walking myself into campaigning to be mayor there. And then he went up after me and took everything I had said. Basically, got up and was like, you guys better not fucking make that guy your mayor.
Yes.
And he did this set. He did like an hour, and he just kept going. He did like an hour and a half at one point, and it was some of the funniest stuff I'd ever seen. And like there were moments that I was crying, like it was so funny, and because and that was a weird room because it was like in a little country town. And he, before going up, he goes, these people are gonna hate me, aren't they? And then he murdered.
I actually made a note about talking about one of my favorite Velly jokes where he talks about going to Tally's and seeing the white person get the burrito with the chili cheese, and so he gets it, and he's like, bloop, bloop, bloop.
Yeah, I was always impressed because he was always working on something, and always working on something different too. Like it was always something he would tell me, and I'm like, who thinks of this? Who thinks to do this? This is crazy. And then it would be crazy, and it would be awesome. And I mean, some of the emails that I have from him are just insane. And I'm like, these emails will never do anything. And then like 6 months later, there it is, the exact thing he was talking about. And I'm like, oh my God, he did it. I don't know how, but he fucking did it.
Yeah, he was always like, that's one thing about him, definitely, is that he was like an idea person. Like he was always like, I could do a tour with this guy, or we could do a theme show. He always had so many ideas for shows that could have a theme. Yeah. There was one thing I looked at earlier. I went through all my old messages with him, and I took a screenshot of this one that I think you'll appreciate. I think the audience will appreciate. I think it's worth it. He messaged me on Instagram, October 16th, 2017. Hey, bro. Hey, Vel. Hey, man, I need a little guy such as yourself to play a gay dude named Sweet Pig Toe in my movie, LOL. I couldn't do it because I was out of town that weekend. Yeah. I don't think the movie ever came out, but he actually did film a ton of stuff for the movie, I think.
Wow.
Based on another post that I saw. But I told him, I was like, hit me up, if we can do it any other time. And he's like, I'll check with my folks. And that one never materialized. But I love that one.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's so funny. I remember he came to do the bin one time. We had some big name was in. And they invited him to come open and do like a spot. And he walked in.
Was it that little fly guy or whatever? DC
Yeah, it was whichever show was the one that followed that one. I mean, he was on that one, but it was whichever show was after that one. I can't remember who it was. But he came in and he had a green alligator skin suit. You know the one I'm talking about.
No, his suits were incredible.
They were crazy. And he walked in and he barged up to the window, and I'm working at the box office at the Looney Bin, and he's like, Landry, I need you to do me a favor. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I have some friends coming and I need you to tell them it's sold out. And I'm like, what? And he's like, just trust me on this. And so some people come in and they go, hey, Velly told us that they have he has tickets up here for me. And I go, actually the show tonight is sold out. I'm really sorry about that. And they're like, what? Where's Velly? Get us Velly. And so I go, okay, well, give me 1 second. I'll go find him. So I walk into the big room and I track him down. I'm like, hey, your friends are here. And as I predicted, they're very mad at you. And he goes, I'll have to go talk to them. And he walks out there and he talks to them for like 10 minutes. And he's like, I tried to get you tickets. I'm really sorry. I know, I invited you to come out 30 minutes ago, and I tried to get you tickets. And then after 10 minutes, the announcement starts for the show. And he goes, all right, well, are you guys ready to go to your table? And he takes them right in, and they were so mad.
I have a couple memories of him at the bin. There was one. Do you remember Jeremiah Walton or the
Oh, of
name?
course. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. He had kind of like a Stephen Wright style. It was like a very dry. He won
yeah.
a contest back when they were doing. I think it was a contest that Gerald had, and you would win a week of emceeing at the bin. And one of Gerald's shows like fell on his weekend or something like. I think it was Sunday, and they gave it to him too or something. So he was
Oh,
going to
okay.
MC for Gerald's show, and it was so low energy and it had such a low response that he was hosting. So he was supposed to keep coming back up through everyone, but after his initial set, they told him he was done.
Yeah,
Like he wasn't going back up. And I don't know what happened, but it was like they didn't know what else to do at the time, or they didn't have a host or something, and they just threw Velly up there. Like he had no idea who was going up there, and his whole set was basically improvised.
wow.
Velly,
Yeah,
one thing that in my mind made him so good was that he performed in front of Gerald's base audience so many times, and we've both experienced this too, is when you perform in front of the same people all the time, it forces you in to doing new material because you can't rely on. They've heard your closer, they've heard your opener, they've heard your middle, they've heard everything. So
yeah,
you just have to just really go off the dome, and he just killed it. He had no idea when he was supposed to get off the stage. Like it was just kind of it was like they just were just go up there, Vel, and he fucking crushed. It was so good.
yeah.
And I talked to him afterwards, and he was like, "Man, I think I was in my first year. I'm pretty sure it was 2015." Because when he was like, I didn't even know I was going up there, it just made my mind explode. Because I was like, how could you have done that set and have it go that well when you did not know you were going
Yeah.
up there? This is such a not a big deal to him.
Yeah, of
I
course.
just want
Yeah,
to transitioning into that comedy contest. I mean, there was one that he lost recently, where I think it was for Tulsa Comic of the Year. But I mean, it
yeah.
was so fucking loud for his set. I mean, if you were doing it just by the volume he won, and afterwards, I mean, multiple people were like, "Ah, Vel, I think you had it," and he was just like, whatever, I mean,
Yeah,
he was always so humble about his comedy. And
that's very
um,
true. Yeah.
there's a Demario Oates video. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. He just went live. Like he didn't do like the post. He just turned on his live this morning, and he was just smoking, and he starts crying and breaking down, and he's just telling like belly stories, and it's one of the best Facebook lives I've ever seen. I
Oh,
recommend
yeah.
everybody to go watch this thing because it's so raw, it's so real, it's so emotional. It kind of made me think too. I was like, this is what it should always be. It's like if something huge happens, it's like just go live. There's
Yeah,
no reason to
yeah.
try to craft like the thing. But at the same time, it's very difficult and it's hard to be that like vulnerable
Vulnerable.
in front
Yeah,
of people, especially like someone like Demario. That's why that it's such a big that he would turn on that he would go live and just cry because it
yeah,
goes somewhat against. I mean, I've never seen him cry before. So
yeah. No,
it's
yeah.
fucking it's such a big deal to him. And it was just one of the probably the best Facebook Live I ever saw. So I recommend everybody to go watch that. But I can't remember where I was going with that. I think he had told a Velly story about how humble he was about his comedy, where he'd be like, "Man, you're the best ever," and he would just kind of push it away. Like he
Yeah,
was never the one to say he was the funniest, even when he was.
yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Uh, well, for anyone that's watching that is not aware of his work, I mean, now is as good of time as ever to go check out his stuff. He has so much stuff online. Um, but yeah, I mean, what do you? I guess it's just. I mean, if you just search Velly Vel, you can find all of his stuff online. I mean, he's easy to find, and he has so
Yeah,
much. And I definitely recommend just going down the rabbit hole because he has tons of funny stuff on there. And I don't really know what the future of Save Our Youth Foundation is, but the work they've done has been incredible. It's amazing to see some of the stuff they've done.
of his work. Um, Back when I used to work at law firms, I would go down to the courthouse sometime, and I saw Velly more than once at the courthouse with Save Our Youth. Like if there was like a child molester trial or something like that, something related to that, what that group was doing, they would show up and be there in the courtroom, which
Wow.
sent a message and to be seen and there for support. And it was like, is another thing that goes back to like, I didn't even remember that until you said that. I didn't write that down as like a thing to say about Velly, but it was kind of a like, so you're coming down the courthouse. I mean, you're not, getting anything for this. You're literally just doing this during the day, and then, at night you're
Right.
doing a comedy show, then he's doing morning radio. He drove for Enterprise sometimes for money. So it wasn't like he was just a rich person. He could do whatever he wants. So that he just had, he died at, 47 years old, but I mean, he did more than people that die at 98 years old. I mean, he was a ball of energy. At the point we get to where we're like, we've done 3 things that week. We're like, I'm just going to lie down or take a night off or whatever. It's like, Velly didn't do that. People need to stop looking at stuff and being like, oh, I don't have the energy to do that. It's like,
yeah, definitely. Wow. Yeah, it was a real shock to see that this morning.
Yeah. Let me see if I have any other. There was one other kind of funny. There was a show at the Greenwood Cultural Center, a Gerald show, which it was one of my favorite shows that I was ever on, and they did this sketch where I can't remember what it was from, but we were doing a sketch that was like from, I think it was from a movie or something like that. There was like an NWA song, and they were going to have me, I can't even remember what my character was going to be. This is like 4 years ago. Yeah. But they were like, basically what's going to happen is you're going to go up there. We're all going to be rapping this thing together, but you're the only white guy. And then you're going to rap the part where you say the N-word, and you're really going to say it. And then we're all going to beat the hell out of you. And Gerald, and I was like, I don't want to say that. And Gerald was like, listen, he's like, this one time you can, it's for the sketch. You can say the word. And I was like, no. And Velly was like, for this one, you're black. He's like, for this one time, he's like, you can say it, you get a pass. And I did not say it. I didn't say it, but Velly, not on purpose, but during like the scuffle and the beatdown, his hand knocked my glasses, and this was a stage like the Shrine, so it's like way off the ground. Yeah. Cultural. My glasses flew up the stage, and instantly I was like, because those are like my eyes. I stopped like my fake acting. I was like, where are my glasses? And DeMario went and got them for me.
Oh, that's good.
I really appreciate it. Everyone, once they did that, they kind of knew it was like, okay, he's actually like, he's very concerned. We're gonna stop beating him up.
Yeah.
But yeah. That story doesn't really have an ending other than I got my glasses.
Other than you lost your glasses, found them, and didn't say the N-word. So
I did not say the N-word, yeah. But that was a funny, weird memory.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's been very inspiring to see what everyone has had to say today about him. It's been very nice.
Yeah, and of course, I figured, I went in my Facebook memories with what happened today, and I had a show with Velly like 4 years ago today, and I'm struggling to remember all the details of like where it was at. I only know because Matt Spruill had made a post about like a heckler that was in the crowd, and it tagged me and Velly, and I think Julie Drake in it, and I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, that was totally like a show that happened that Velly was on. Yeah. But there was another one that's kind of a funny story that he booked me on in Inola at Riverbend Arena. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but every time I have. I'd be like, I had the show at this arena coming up, and they're like, what? Inola has an arena? And but it was like a horse stable. It actually there were horses that were there, and then there was like a restaurant. Like it was a very like Southern cooking, I don't know, comfort food. Like it was called like the Chow House or something. And that was wait, okay. I have another Velly show that was funny. We did a cancer benefit in Muskogee, I believe. No, it was Bartlesville. For this lady, because Rickshaw was on it, and me, Velly, somebody else, and someone in the family or related to the family or a family friend or something had always wanted to do comedy but had never done it before, and so they were going to give him like 3 minutes at the top of the show. And
that's nice.
He did like 8 or 9 minutes. and they'd sent someone up there to get the mic out of his hands, and he was like walking away with the mic away from the person trying to get the mic from, and he was bombing horribly. He was completely bombing, and I was up next, so I wasn't there, but Rickshaw told me later that he was at the table with Velly, and Velly was acknowledging like how far off the rails the show had gotten. Like he was like, this is the train and this is the track, you know, this is the show. And he's like, this is where we're at. And he's like, the train is like going, you know. And then he said that when I went up there, I would get like, I got some laughs to start. The crowd was totally fucked up based on what happened at the beginning, because they were just like,
of course,
yeah, the audience was very confused. And then, but I finally got them back. But as I was doing my set, Velly was very slowly moving the train back to the tracks. And then he said, when I, you know, 4 jokes in, when I hit a really big laugh, Velly had put the pretend train on the tracks that had started. He's like, we're back on the track. And I just loved hearing that. So it was just such a weird,
it's such a beautiful
I love
thing.
that was going on during my set, that I was moving this imaginary train to the tracks.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, there's so many good memories, and just and some of those moments of watching how he dealt with a crowd was wild and impressive.
Oh yeah, he headlined my Vanguard show in January, and something funny about that was that it was supposed to be Stetson Banks, but he'd had a heart attack, and I'm gonna rebook Stetson. He's okay. That's not
Good.
the funny part.
Thank God.
But all the advertising, like literally on the outside marquee of the Vanguard, it said Stetson Banks. Everything was Stetson Banks.
Yeah.
He dropped the show like 2 days before, and I hit up Velly, and he agreed to do it on very, 2 days short notice, but we couldn't change any of the advertising at that point. And then, so everybody showing up, we had like 150 people come to that show, but all the advertising there said Stetson. But Velly crushed so hard that I remember telling Stetson, I was like, when we rebook you in a couple months and we put Stetson back on it, all those people will come back, because last time you were there, you fucking crushed.
That's so funny.
You destroyed.